Welcome to the Does This Happen to You podcast, where we explore the funny side of truth is stranger than fiction stories. Our story this week is from the book Stripped Down, A Naked Memoir by Stacey Keith. Check it out on Amazon.com. Zach takes the night shift, then Taylor, then me again. It's cold in the California desert, even with 2 sweatshirts and a jacket. I can't get my nipples to stand down. Duchess stumbles around the deserted rest stop looking for a place to pee. Moon Pie stares up at me, shivering. Back in the truck, I watch the sunrise. Cactus and pump jacks and salt brush, which only the night before spooked me, look normal again. But I can't get rid of the ache in my chest. I rub it as though I might relieve the pain. I think about Houston, about the ratcheting of the cicadas in the bayou, the occasional armadillo snuffling around on my patio, the oak tree outside my bedroom window, festooned with long ribbons of Spanish moss. Highway signs are more frequent now. 95 miles to Los Angeles, 50 miles. Dread mounts. It occurs to me that California has never been good to me. Why am I doing this? I was sexually exploited there as a child and will most likely be sexually exploited there again. Without wanting to, I remember Fred, a friend of the family who took me to a horse farm once. I was 4. He owned a van. He told me the horses would do tricks if you gave them sugar. There was a box of sugar cubes in the cupboard. If I let him take my panties off, I could have the whole box. I'd never seen a horse do tricks. I'd seen a dog perform tricks, roll over and play dead, but I badly wanted to know if a horse could do the same ones. I remember seeing my panties crumbled on the shag carpeting of the van. They looked unimportant and forgotten. I didn't look at Fred, but when I squeezed my eyes shut, I could still see his thick glasses, the way the light caught them and blanked out his eyes. I heard the familiar whirring shutter stops of his camera and wondered, could horses sit up and beg? Sometimes after our trips on his yacht or in the van or, boldly in the house in Santa Barbara he shared with his thin, bespectacled wife, I would be in a friend's yard playing. Someone might throw me a ball that smelled hot and rubbery, and I'd go still, as though clouds had darkened the eternal sunshine of my child's mind. I would realize then that none of my friends spent time in curtained vans with beefy, middle-aged men, that they didn't feel paralyzed by icky uncertainty when someone touched them. Or maybe they did. As an adult, I wonder. But the lurking shame was starting to color everything, even stuff I enjoyed doing, like gazing up at the plum tree that grew over our driveway, at the plums ripening purple there, rosy yellow on the inside, and when you bit them, juice exploding in a supernova of sweetness in your mouth. Yes, even then in the back of my mind, unbidden, was the secret knowledge of Fred and his fumbling fingers, his soft voice, his ever-present camera. And now, at 20, hurtling across the California desert, God help me, I realize for the first time that nothing's changed. I want sugar cubes for the horses, or enough money to tell the world to go fuck itself, and I still have to get naked to do it. Tears threaten to erupt. My face is hot. I can't cry, though, because I'll smear my makeup. All I need is an emotional exit, one measly exit, and I'll be okay. Why are those 2 assholes still asleep? Slapping my hand on the radio button, I dial the loudest frequency and yell at everybody to get up. I remember too late that, for me, Los Angeles is the creature under the bed. The minute we hit the city limits, I'm forced to recall how many monsters are rattling around under those box springs, ready to whip-snatch my bed sheets and send me rolling to the floor. Scenes from my childhood rush toward me with each street sign that we fly past. Pico Boulevard, La Cienega Boulevard. Sight of my mother's scream fest with her demented band manager, Santa Monica Boulevard, where someone offered me, at 10, a hit of acid that had a picture of Goofy on it. But my worst moment is when we're idling in traffic on the overpass of the Hollywood freeway. It takes me a moment to realize the awful significance of where we are. Zach is driving, zombified from lack of sleep. Taylor's eating a Twix bar, studying it casually as he chews, as though the secret to life is written in its whirls of chocolate. And I'm drenched in sweat, wondering how we just got here, and I'm already having to deal with this. Maybe I thought it would have gone away somehow. I need air. Clawing at the door handle, I heave it open. My feet hit the ground. I can see Zach's look of astonishment through the windshield. The roar of traffic drowns out whatever he yells to me. I trudge across a lane of stalled cars and then stand on the bridge, staring, my fingers curled around the spokes of a guardrail. The sky is so blue here. I've never seen a sky so violently blue. The breeze comes off the Pacific and breathes life into my hair. At my feet, a crushed beer can gleams dully. The guardrail smells of wet metal. They say my father, when plunging to his death off this overpass, may not have meant to die. It is possible, given his crazy genius, his hyperkinetic musical talent, his psychotropic drug use, that he thought the hand of God might swoop down at just the right moment and save him. But I could not. I was 2, and he was a stranger to me. His family could barely understand him, even when he called 2 weeks before Christmas, crying, demanding to know whether God really existed. An account of his death, written in the local newspaper, matter-of-factly read, "Mysterious death on Hollywood freeway, Los Angeles. Leaping or falling from overcrossing onto the Hollywood freeway. A man identified as John Doe, address unknown, was struck by numerous cars and killed. Police said the victim plunged down the Santa Monica Boulevard overpass onto the northbound freeway about 5:15 a.m. and drivers could not avoid him. Faint nausea stirs as I peer down at the blinding speed of those cars. The hot grit of the freeway drifts across my skin. The breeze carries with it the strong, tarry odor of creosote from a nearby utility pole. My father had probably been too high to notice these things. He died with almost every street drug in his bloodstream. Or maybe he'd been too distracted proving, once and for all, the existence of a God he both venerated and despised. Zach comes jogging up. He looks worried. Surely he's wondering if the woman he's moving in with is mentally unbalanced. I see the U-Haul truck parked in a vacant lot at the end of the bridge. Taylor's leaning against its side with one heel hitched onto a truck tire and his guitar out, as though he intends to serenade us. "Are you sick?" Zach asked me. "No." "What's wrong?" I'm not sure I have the heart to explain. The story's too big and too painful. Other people's dads die of heart attacks or strokes or honorable old age. My dad, who added an extra D to Rod because God only had one, managed to vandalize himself as surely as the kids who'd graffitied the side of this bridge. I give Zach a faint smile. "Did I ever tell you about the time my father got thrown in jail?" Zach says, "No, you don't talk about him much." "He left his apartment one night, high on PCP. He liked to drink it, in tea. He was wearing only a raincoat. Dad preferred to hang out around the house, literally. Anyway, he bought cigarettes, lit one up at the corner of Melrose and Vine, set fire to the coat, and had to rip the thing off to save himself. I can tell Zach is impressed by the weirdness of this. Your dad set himself on fire? He didn't mean to, but I wonder, what if he did? When the police hauled him off, they had to throw a towel over his dick. Wow. I gaze down at the freeway again. I think about the cars hitting the body that appeared out of nowhere, my dad with his medallions and his hippie hair, arms outstretched like air was something he could swim in. Then the helpless flailing of limbs, already crushed, flashing in front of someone's headlights. Maybe the quick glint of a ring. The horrible, spine-chilling thud of a body hitting the grill of your car. And afterwards, a handful of people milling around issuing eyewitness reports to the police, rubbing their arms in the chill desert dawn. Some might have shaken their heads in wonder at it, this unknown man, a shape now in a body bag, that rudely jolted them out of their tired, insular worries about getting the TV fixed and needing a new water heater. And I must have been sleeping somewhere not too far away. If foreboding crept over me, I don't remember. The sun rose, and I played, and ate my cereal, and billions of people went about their daily lives on our blue planet. Not one of them was my father. Maybe I attached too much importance to the term. Rod's involvement in my life was not much more than, as 80s punk icon Johnny Rotten put it, 2 minutes, 52 seconds of squishing noises. Zach follows my gaze, studying the traffic below. The light here is soft and warm, and it falls on his dark hair like filaments of gold. I find myself wondering if girls with loving fathers ever wind up grinding for greenbacks in a strip bar. Somebody once asked me, Zach says, about my friend Chuck, who killed himself. What would you tell him if you had one more chance? So maybe I should ask you that, huh? What would you say to your dad if he were standing right here? Zach's trying. I know all he wants to do is shout at me to get back in the truck. So I try hard to think of something. And then it comes to me. I don't have any tears left, but my eyes are hot as I follow, once again, the imaginary trajectory of his body. I would say to him, Dad, it's too late now. I will never know if you were a selfish bastard or a tortured soul. But I need to know. Why was it impossible for you to love me? The first apartment we look at is too far inland, has an ant problem, and is within earshot of blaring mariachi music. Zach and I look at each other and shake our heads. The second place is in Topanga Canyon, whitewashed mission-style walls and a quarter-acre of fruit trees. It's the carriage house on a bigger property. The realtor is one of these leathery blondes that California seems to specialize in, fake-baked to orange perfection, with tough-looking, improbable breasts that could probably deflect small arms fire. She gushes over Zach and ignores me. I'm sure she thinks I bought my rack, too. Pick your tits implant emporium. You pick 'em, we pack 'em. $2,599. Standing next to her, I'm a fraud by default. But we like the carriage house and ask her why it's so reasonably priced. Well, they rent out the main house occasionally, so maybe they can afford to be reasonable. Who do they rent it out to? I ask. Every so often a film company comes through and does a shoot on premises. Like who? Tarantino? Spielberg? Clint Eastwood? No, more like adult films. Instantly, I get this vision of me coming home from work and walking past a pool full of guys with hard-ons and women who look like the realtor, only younger, and maybe one of the guys gives me a friendly wave, even though he's got his dick up some woman's pussy, and there's another dick in her mouth, and all I can think is, there isn't enough chlorine in the world to shock that pool. The third place is the most expensive. It's right on Malibu Point, one of a row of modular floor plexes. We're told a famous writer lives next door. I can see him as we pass by his window, wearing a Gilligan's Island hat with fishing lures attached to the brim and typing two-fingered on an ancient typewriter. Our living room faces the water, which crashes noisily on the rocks below. There's no dishwasher, garbage disposal, or central air, and it's marginally bigger than 6 VW buses placed side by side, but Zach and I say, we'll take it. Taylor helps us move our furniture in, which doesn't take much time. I'd slapped down a hefty deposit, and now have the jitters again about money and my future. We sit out on the balcony and eat avocado sandwiches from PC Greens, a health food market across the street. But the contentment I should be feeling isn't there. Instead, I'm thinking about how the constant odor of skunkweed, Zach and Taylor are stoned as usual, will get us evicted. The waves are ceaseless, coiling like a snake that strikes again and again before hissing out to sea. I thought they'd be more benign, and the beach is cold. As a girl, I lived in the foothills of Pasadena, but never by the water with its damps and fogs and lusty sea wind. It occurs to me again that I have to work awfully hard to support this lifestyle, which takes a lot of the fun out of doing it. A duh moment for anyone else, but a sobering one when you're little more than a teen. Zach leans back in his chair and gives me a sleepy smile. As though he too senses that everything's riding on me, he says, "So, when are you going to call Gordon?" I can't remember who said, you can shove all the sincerity of Hollywood up an ant's ass and still have room for an agent's heart, but he deserves an award. Not that my expectations of Gordon were high. Gordon's an agent. Agents are pigs. But nothing prepares me for the sheer swinishness of this sweaty, hairy lout of a man whose belly strains his shirt buttons and whose grimy jeans hang halfway down his ass. When he shambles out of his office, I'm speechless. Does anyone return this guy's phone calls? I've seen men more dapper clutching bottles of Ripple. Come in, he says. Dropping a pile of headshots off a leather chair, he makes room for me to sit. His eyes register none of the surprise or curiosity or even the predatory interest I have come to expect. His skin is faintly greenish with heavy 5 o'clock shadow. His hair, long but unstyled, looks oily. You just get into town? He says. Did it take you long? The trip, I mean. Where are you staying? Do you like it? I got one of the playmates an apartment on Wilshire Boulevard. You want to live on Wilshire Boulevard? Because I could probably call the guy and see. I don't know what to say or what to respond to first. I stare at him in stupefied silence. How big are you? There was a girl last year from North Carolina who came into my office, and she was as big as you. I got her into Playboy. Do you want to do Playboy? I can make some calls. Have you ever weighed them? I rep Lulu Devine. You know her? And she did a shoot where they weighed her tits on the produce scale at the supermarket. You ever do that? Weigh them, I mean. I can't believe this is the same guy I talked to on the phone. Apparently, I'd been so eager to make a good impression, I failed to recognize what a moron he was. No, I never weighed them, I say. Can I feel one? Seriously, can I? Because you're supposed to be natural, right? Can I just lift one up and see what it's like? He's perched on one corner of his desk, and here comes his hand, soft-looking in the way a woman's hand is soft. And I physically recoil. Any other time I would have said, touch me, you're dead. But I remember how much the rent is and sweeten my tone with, Gordon, I'm not really comfortable. Oh, hey, that's cool. We're just getting acquainted, right? I was just curious, is all. Lulus are solid like a 20-pound sack of cement. I only wanted to know if yours are different. So, where are you staying anyway? As I reluctantly tell him, my gaze travels over walls papered by hundreds of headshots. Every face is airbrushed and beautiful, clear-eyed, wide-smiled, blemish-free. Are there really this many perfect people in the world? Gordon points to one, a dark-haired girl with a wistful smile. She's a pet. You know her? I got her a running gig on Married with Children. That one over there, the black chick, she works a lot in Japan, makes maybe $500,000 a year. Wow, that's great, I say, not sure whether to believe him. I bet you're hungry, aren't you? Gordon says. I know just the place. Good thing I cleared my afternoon, huh? Oh, this doesn't sound good. We go down to the parking garage where a black Maserati awaits us. An impressive set of wheels, but I keep thinking about men who buy hot rods to compensate for the inadequacy of theirs. Let me tell you, it's a bitch screwing in this thing, Gordon announces as the engine growls to life. I had Miss November in here last week. You know her? Legs up to forever. Had to stick one out the window, and even then I threw my back out. Quietest fuck I ever had. I like the penthouse girls better. They swallow. Do you swallow? I can just picture you with your baby face in your boobs and me teabag in your mouth. Do you like to do that? Hey, do you like to eat pussy and let a guy tag you from behind? My fingers hover over the door latch. Apparently a memo has been issued and I didn't get it. When in Hollywood, stick a sign in your vagina that says, "Open for business." No wonder Gordon lets himself look like a fistful of dog turds. Why bother to smell good when you've got the power to make or break all these dumb, drug-addled model/actress wannabes and get your Jimmy waxed at the same time? Why should he help me land any audition when there are 500 girls just as hot as I am, or hotter, but without the freak factor tits? Maybe because of my childhood abuse, maybe because of my own moral compass, I am incapable of sleeping with someone just to get ahead, and because of that, I'm doomed before I've started. Somehow, as I stare out the window at the buildings we pass, I muster the courage to say, Gordon, I've got to confess something. I don't sleep with women. Nothing against it, just not my thing. And I'm living with my boyfriend, who probably wouldn't like it if... Babe, you're not going to get anywhere with that attitude. I don't care if you like to shove cucumbers up your twat. The right answer to a question like the one I ask you is always yes. But I'd be lying. Welcome to Hollywood. But look at Madonna. To hear her talk, you'd think she makes it with livestock. She probably does make it with livestock. And she banks millions every year. I get his point, but he still creeps me out. Lying doesn't feel very authentic. Authentic? What kind of word is that? What, are we in group therapy here? I'm trying to make you some money. You can get a whole lot of authentic with money. Authentic Hermes scarves, black glamour furs. A girl like you shouldn't have to work, ever. Provided, of course, you let every man tee off your fairway. We're not 30 minutes into this meeting, and it's already a disaster. I'm sunk. Hollywood is a giant whorehouse. Anyone under 25 is expected to shell out like a peanut vendor. And I was dumb enough to come here and think I could get work based on good old-fashioned values like looks and connections. What will I do to make ends meet now? 12-month road trips? We dine at some L.A. eatery where the valets circle around the car like hungry jackals, and starlets I've seen in National Enquirer pretend not to notice they're getting eye-fucked by every guy in the room. Once I might have thought any starlet's good fortune was a combination of luck, brains, and beauty. Now all it boils down to is the parting of the golden arches of fast food McPussy. I order a salad. You don't dare get anything else because a pound of fat might mean fewer men will want to screw you. To tell the truth, I'm utterly bewildered. How did I get myself into this? Is this what Ralph was talking about when he said, "Figure out where the fuck you're going and do it fast"? Otherwise, you're going to be in for a rude surprise when you get there. Do actresses like Meryl Streep or Vanessa Redgrave have to play by these rules, or are they granted a talent exemption? I can't quite picture Meryl Streep doing the head bob under some producer's desk. I look around at these people, California cool with their Pellegrinos and Chardonnays. Everyone's thin and hip and wildly self-absorbed. In Texas, there'd be big plates of something deep-fried, a farm critter probably, swimming in brown gravy, and the size of 24 Walmart brand garbadine stretch slacks to accommodate its consumption. There'd be kids in this restaurant with dirty faces and sullen parents, and maybe a gas-guzzling pickup out in the parking lot, but hell, why not? It's Texas and oil is king. Does anyone in LA have children? Does anyone even laugh? You like it so far? Gordon ordered spinach ravioli, and he chews with his mouth open. A microbe of spinach flies across the table and lands on the top of my left breast. Malibu, I mean. We need to get you going to parties, making the rounds. What rounds? That's how it's done. You go to parties, you get seen, you meet people who cast you in their movies. I thought you went on auditions. What? Christ, no. Waste of time. What about the auditions you wanted to send me on? Those are okay. Most are bullshit. Good thing you're in Malibu. We need to get you hanging out on the beach in your bikini. You got a dog? That helps. Me and Moon Pie. I picture her quivering out on the cold sand, wet eyes slitted against the wind. Everyone in Malibu seems to own a show dog. I can't imagine Moon Pie impressing anyone. After lunch, we wander around Rodeo Drive a bit, looking at store windows. I can tell he's hoping this will whet my appetite for expensive stuff, make me greedy enough to at least consider giving him a tuggy back at the office. But I'd never been keen for Fendi handbags or Manolo Blahniks. I'm either too geek or too hillbilly to appreciate what possessing these things would say about me. I'll bet you spent most of high school giving titty fucks, Gordon says once we reach the car. Not really. Head? Well, with my boyfriend maybe, but... Anal? Did you ever let him in the back door? Gordon, I've got to tell you, I failed to see. Miss August, you know her? Big corn-fed blonde from Nebraska. She was a freak for it, anal. I tagged her in the ass so many times I thought my dick would fall off. Wow. Should you be telling me something this personal about one of your clients? No big. Hey, what she doesn't know, right? So listen, do you want to go back to my office or to my apartment? He's serious. To him, sex is a given. Everything I told him about who and what I am, noise. Today, I am Gordon Rail's brand new cum dumpster. Tomorrow, I'll be just another story he tells to the next girl in his Maserati. Let's go to your office, I smile, preparing to ditch him the minute we arrive. You sure? If we head back to my place, we can get the oil. I'll give you a massage. Which would be like getting a head rub from Jeffrey Dahmer. By the time we rumble into the parking garage, my mind is already 1,000 miles ahead of him. On the off chance that Gordon can get me work, I can't fire him until I acquire new representation. I suspect this won't be easy. Gordon offered to rep me because he saw me in a magazine and decided that I appealed to his particular kink. Getting an agent who's on the up and up will take more time. Meanwhile, I'm going to have to find a way to make a living that doesn't constantly take me out of town. Gordon, I'll have to rain check that massage, I tell him. What? My boyfriend, well, he's wicked jealous, and he'll be watching me like a hawk when I get back. The last guy who tried to touch me is still in traction. As a lie, it's clumsy. But what the hell? Gordon's enough of a coward to let it spook him. Besides, I say, getting out of his car, I just got my period. You can actually see Gordon wince. I know he likes his pussy clean and uncomplicated, preferably lifelike, but plastic's okay too. Waving goodbye to him in all his comical disappointment, I trot off to my car. But once I get inside where it's safe and I can lock the doors, my bravado deserts me. I press my forehead to the rim of the steering wheel and will myself to breathe. This place is an asylum. I'll never make it big. I might not make it out. I wonder sometimes if relationships are nothing more than an attempt to recreate the past and change it. If you grow up feeling ugly, you seek people who will tell you you're beautiful. If you felt unloved, you bend over backwards for someone to love you. Doesn't love then become less about love and more about healing old wounds? And what man on earth can give you what you think your past deprive you of? It's 11 a.m. and I haven't figured that out yet. I'm freezing my ass off on the deck of a restaurant in Malibu. On a typical morning, we come here for breakfast pastries and then return to the condo for a roll in the sheets. Then Zach dozes while I obsessively sweep and clean and vacuum, and after that we go to the beach. I tan while he surfs. Later, the gym and dinner. Shivering, I look over at the handful of woozy celebrity D-listers huddled over Bloody Marys at the bar. Casualties, all of us, in our various ways. Human chum caught in the propellers of corporate Candyland. Sitting across the table from me, Zach looks relaxed and happy. The green trim on the umbrella above his head ripples in the breeze. Behind him, gulls caw. Sea rats, he calls them, but his smile is indulgent. This elemental man, this man of the sea, he throws them a piece of his Danish. I realize how grateful I am to have him. Zach makes me feel safer. I don't know that it's love I feel. That would require a certain looking up to, wouldn't it? And many of Zach's habits don't inspire my respect. He's a self-professed Italian redneck. But he's more of an anchor than an albatross. He makes me laugh. He can wrest my nose out of a book faster than anyone I know. "You're quiet this morning," he says. "I'm probably still in shock over Gordon. I should have gone with you. He probably want to fuck you too." Zach smiles. "You're hard to figure out sometimes." "What do you mean?" I ask. "We go places and, well, it's damn near impossible to hide your boobs, but you put 'em right out there. I mean, look at what you've got on." With mild surprise, I glance down and realize I'm wearing a lavender top with built-in shelf bra. The top halves of my breasts look like squished moons. I shrug. "What's your point?" Zach digs his thumb into the breakfast pastry, tears off a chunk, and then throws it to the gulls. "I guess the point I'm trying to make is any other girl wearing what you wear would be trying to stir up shit. Get laid, get attention. But you..." I wait for him to finish. A gull squawks from our bread, beak wide, tongue an angry gray worm. "What?" I ask. "You hide. You sit there behind your boobs, and you dare people to figure out you're not an idiot." I stare at Zach, wondering if it's true. I've always wanted a man to see me, really see me. But now that one does, now that my shell's been ripped off, I feel naked and alarmed. "It's got to get lonely in there," he continues. "Most people are too lazy and stupid to look past the obvious. I mean, why should they bother getting to know who you are when they think this is all you want them to see?" Embarrassment heats my cheeks. I'm mortified to think Zach knows me that well. Yet I can see he's not judging me for it. I wonder if anybody else knows. I wonder how, until he pointed it out, I didn't know. And I realize it is lonely. But I don't know how else to be. If I dress to conceal the unconcealable, I'm still hiding. Is sexiness a hindrance, then, to being truly loved? A gust of Pacific wind makes me shiver. Zach takes his sweatshirt off and drapes it over my shoulders. I feel bad because all he's got on now is a thin white tee. I got a call from one of Gordon's contacts, I tell him, artfully changing the subject. That bachelor party company? They'll pay me $500 an appearance plus tips. Well, I guess it'd keep us in town and not starving. Zach throws the last of his roll, which is savaged by half a dozen birds, but he doesn't look happy. At least for now, okay? The security issues. I'll be okay. Those boobs of yours. He leans over and kisses the top of my head. I wonder sometimes if you weren't cursed with those things. Thanks for listening. I'm Chris Kepler, and I hope you enjoyed listening to these stories as much as I enjoyed narrating them. I'd love for more people to hear these wonderful stories, so please share and tell your friends.